for me, it was so hard to keep that lie because I just felt that I have wronged them. That at the end, I felt it. I felt that I was, and I have to say that was the in my life the time when I started to feel that moral compass knocking the door and telling me it felt wrong. I remember my stomach hurting, and when I was able to say, "I'm sorry, I did this," it was an energy that freed me. The truth, even when it's painful, it frees energy and restores inner coherence.
We lie not because we're bad, but because we are afraid of the truth, afraid of the punishment, afraid of that we could die. Like there's fear behind this. And the moment fear dissolves, then truth no longer needs to hide.
She pressed my hand very hard, and she told me, "Am I going to be okay?" And with this tenderness in my eyes, I told her, "Yes, Titi, you're gonna be fine." Even though I knew I was lying because she had esophageal cancer.
Hi, everybody. Here in a new episode of In Dying, I Began to Live. Here, Ingrid Honkala.
Francisco Valentin.
And Ana Cecilia Gonzalez, welcome.
Welcome, everybody. Today, we have a very interesting question. We love these questions. And the one today is, it could be probably understood as controversial, and maybe this one is that one that we were like, wow, how do we approach this question? So it's a really good one. People ask us, why do we lie, and what is behind it? Why do we do this? And incredibly, as we were talking together, we started to think and to realize that lying actually is one of the most judged human behaviors, and at the same time, one of the most misunderstood. Because we often associate lying with a lack of values or with the intention of harm, but we rarely stop to look at why truly lies behind it. And behind a lie, many times, there is not really evil, but fear. Fear of being rejected or punished or judged. And sometimes it's even born from the place of insecurity. Maybe from the need to protect ourselves emotionally, or from the belief that if we tell the truth, we will not be accepted as we are. And this happens more often than we really think. And other times it can arise as an automatic response or almost unconscious impulse, because it comes from a way of saving ourselves when we don't know how to face or tell the truth. And in children, lying might be driven by curiosity, by imagination, or even by the desire to explore limits, rather than really by a conscious intention of trying to deceive or trying to do wrong. And in adults, it may appear as a strategy to avoid criticism or judgment or punishment, even conflict, or even to protect relationships that feel fragile. Or we also do it when we don't want to feel vulnerable. So that's why today we want to go beyond moral condemnation and ask ourselves, what is a lie trying to protect? What unmet needs is speaking through it? And what does it reveal about our emotional world and our deepest wounds? And here I'm dropping it to you, Francisco, because wow, this is really, really a subject that is very delicate and
Yes,
difficult
yes, it is.
to work with.
Yes, indeed. As a matter of fact, I personally am in conflict with this subject. When you brought it up, when the question arose, I told, I was I was troubled into how can we answer this, and thanks to you and Ana Cecilia's finding, uh, you guys brought me into okay, let's do this. Uh, why is it too conflicted for me? Is because uh, let me put it next to the word love. Uh, when we lie is unfortunately because of our condition in which we have to express ourselves through words. It is a very limited way of communication because, as you said, Ingrid, you can lie because you have a good intent or bad intent, and both are using the same word, same as love. I mean, there are eight type of love, but a very curious thing is that those who have had a near-death experience had agree with me because of my statement or because everybody goes through the same phase in which they define love as a type of love that cannot be described here on earth. And even those who said, well, I mean, the unconditional love, how can you tell if you haven't been there? You have to go through the experience in order to understand what I really meant and what those who have had near death experience have expressed themselves as how that love is so different from the love or the definition that we give to love. So here in this episode, we're going to try to. This is what I understand that we're doing. We're trying to help bring a new definition to love and not encapsulate it into this is lying, because lying has so many aspects. It can be done out of benevolence, but also can come from out of malevolence. Just to give you an example uh, of what I would understand as a benevolent lie. I personally experienced having to go through that process when my aunt, in Spanish we call him tia or titi. My aunt was in a hospital because she had cancer in the esophagus, and that she was going to have a procedure of draining the stomach system, and that procedure did not require to be in an OR or anything like that. It was just right in the bed, and at that time I was visiting her, and she was very scared because they're going to put a tube and suck the liquid from the stomach, and she was very afraid. So she extended her hand for me to grab her hand, and as I grabbed her hand, she pressed my hand very hard, and she told me, "Am I going to be okay?" And with this tenderness in my eyes, I told her, "Yes, Titi, you're gonna be fine." Even though I knew I was lying because she had esophagus cancer. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, uh, my family never told her what she had because I mean, she was this type of person that didn't go to the dentist or the doctor or the hospital for no way because she was so afraid of them that she never took care of it on time, and that's how she ended up. And when the procedure ended, she let go of my hand and she looked at me with ratifying with a yes with her head, like thank you for being here and give me this reassurance. And I understood that she believed me, even though I knew I was lying. But and that's why I have so much conflict with this word, because in my eyes I wasn't lying, but because of the limitation of our inability to communicate from the thinking process through the thought, through what people call telepathy, or whatever you might want to call it, we cannot express what we really feel, even though we're using that specific word, which I consider that it's not lying. But go ahead, Ana Cecilia, and go over what you can bring to the table, because I have my limitation here in this subject.
No, I love what you both are sharing, because I think we are trying to look at this from another point of view, instead of just cursing or judging lies, because we all do it and we have all done it at some point in our lives. And we have to understand where it comes from, which is what Ingrid told us at the beginning. And the truth is that we lie because truth demands courage. It's not, I mean, who wants to say things, the truth right away, when you know that's going to really get you into a lot of trouble? Truth is not always convenient. The truth asks us to take responsibility, to be vulnerable, to risk discomfort. And the real thing is that lying feels easier at that moment. Whenever we did it, like Francisco was just mentioning, it feels easier. It feels that that's the right decision. So first of all, I want to point out that there are several aspects. Even Ingrid mentioned them. There's the human, the emotional, and the spiritual perspective, which I'm going to try to touch briefly. But one thing is true, that whenever we lie, in that moment, that's what we thought was best. For it could be for good, like malice, or it could be for saving the situation. So the truth is that we lie sometimes. This is a human side, totally, to protect ourselves. Psychologically, lying often brings a survival mechanism. We lie when the truth, like Ingrid also said it, feels very threatened. And our image, our safety, our relations, our sense of control feels threatened. So we lie, like, did you get early? Did you get last night? Did you arrive at the time I told you? The first answer is going to be yes. Why? Because if you say no, you're not even going to be able to share how beautiful it was last night, because you came half an hour later or whatever. So sometimes it's convenient to be able to tell the rest of the story. Because you know what happens sometimes when somebody asks a question. When you ask, it's because you want an answer. But if you're going to answer the exact truth, everything that you say will be concentrated in that answer instead of the story you want to say. So sometimes, and this is mostly our children or us, as we sometimes say things that are not the best thing or are not the truth in that moment. But what you want is to be able to share the rest of the story. And at times, we give it so much power to that missing the truth or what was asked from us, that we're not able to say what we accomplished. So psychologically, lying often begins, like we say, with a survival mechanism. We lie when the truth feels very, very threatened. So we don't want to be rejected. We don't want to be judged. We don't want to be, what we want is for people to love us, to be approved, and to belong. And when that part feels threatened, and this comes since we're a little one. So what would be interesting is to understand that a lie, mostly when it comes from somebody that it's like in a work, or somebody that's under like employees, or the children, it becomes a shield of protection. From what are we protecting ourselves? From what is a child protecting himself? From what is our employee protecting himself? Probably is from the horror that will, the monster that's going to come out when they say the truth. So one thing that this is my first reflection, try to understand that not every lie comes precisely from malign, from the negative, or from somebody wanting to abuse the truth. It comes from a place of protection. So if somebody lies to you and you know they're lying, instead of just going to the judgment of their lying, if we try to go a little bit, step 3, 4 steps behind, and question yourself, why are they lying? What am I not making them feel safe to say the truth? And that is going to be a lesson for yourself. That is only the first aspect. I want to continue telling you about my own story, but I'll do it in my next participation. So, Ingrid, please go ahead and tell us more about your own experience.
Yeah, this is a very incredible subject, because telling the truth, like we keep saying, is just so controversial in so many cases, because it all depends on the circumstances. And you know and it all comes from conditioning too, and from our uprising, how things were at home. And if telling the truth was a threatening thing, why would I tell the truth?
Yeah.
If every time I said the truth, I was being punished. Because many times we should just say, and we push the child, tell me the truth. But after saying the truth, you were scolded, you were punished. Then why would you do it? I mean, it's clear that we have wisdom. Is the wisdom of the nervous system, the wisdom of protection, the wisdom of survival. And
Yes.
then we're not going to go telling what is going to hurt us. So, this is the other part, is like, when just there's so much conditioning playing on us. And there's also the part when we're growing up, and we start recognizing what is right, what is wrong, what in the eyes of others is right and is wrong. And we start little by
Yeah.
little awakening that moral compass. But I like to share this very incredible experiment they did with some groups of children, and how it was demonstrating that regardless the age, there's the part of that is already telling us, this is the moral compass start like kind of knocking the door and showing us when we're acting right or wrong. And in this experiment, they will put children in a room, and the parents will tell the children, and the psychologist that was part of the experiment, that they will be sitting in this room and nobody will be there watching. And in the room there was a container full of M&Ms, and the child that was being left alone in the room didn't supposed to move from that chair, and left alone, it did not supposed to go and eat any M&M. It would just be like, you do not move from this chair and you do not touch the M&Ms. And then in the eyes of the child, it was like, why I cannot move from the chair, and why I cannot eat an M&M if the bowl is full? See, so this is incredible how we also have our own logic, and trying to understand why adults are asking us not to do or to do. But now is the part of the behavior. So they will leave the child alone in the room. And I would just say that 99% of the cases, the child will just at the beginning try to see no one is watching, and he will stand up from the chair, touch the little edge of it until it's separated from the chair, and will go to the bowl, and one M&M in all this bowl, who's going to know it? And pick one and eat it. And then when they will come back to the room and ask them, they'll be like, no, I never stood from this chair, I didn't touch any M&M. because of course they knew that they should not be doing it, that they were told not to.
Yeah.
And then they repeated the experiment, telling the children that in the room was an angel watching. They were not told a camera or a person. They said no. So in this case, it was not even a being that they recognize as, yeah, a camera or a person is looking, so I should not move. No, they just say an angel is going to be with you in the room watching. So they were told not to, again, not to move, not to eat the candy. And in the 100% of the cases, the children did not move from the chair. So this is always telling us that when we feel that we're being observed, when we feel that we are being, in any case, even judged, or even or somebody is there to guide our movements, we're going to just not do it. And this is the other thing. There was another experiment that caught my attention very much, and is that there was now two children in the room, an older and a younger one. And in most of the cases, the older child will guide the younger about what to do, and it will be like it will take the place of the parent, and it will guide the youngest one, and like, you don't do this. So it was, in most of the cases, that's what would happen. The older one will guide the younger one not to do, or not to lie, or not to do to follow the behavior that it was expected. So this is incredible how all this plays a role in our development. And before passing the baton, I want to share another experience I have had, and this, in this case, a personal experience, and it was with my own son, and how he every time that he done something that we consider wrong, he broke something, whatever he did, he will come and he will tell me the truth. And I will be so surprised. Imagine, even I would get surprised, because I would think, if I was his age, if I was a child, if I was young, I would have never told my parents that I broke this, or that I did this or that. And that brought me to a deep realization. Is like, do we feel safe? It's
Exactly.
all depending what is our environment is offering. And with my child, he always felt very, very safe. It's like I never punished him for telling the truth. And I guess that's a component of, and what is happening when we have parenting with more consciousness, is the part of like telling the child to think about what they have done, not going directly to reactivity or punishment. So with him, it was always like, think about what you did and let's talk about it. So there was always dialogue. So he was never afraid to tell me the truth. But I could compare with my husband. He was more rigid. He wasn't going to take it like that. And then, of course, if he did something, he wasn't going to go tell my husband the truth, because he was like, oh no, that will get mad and he will scold at me. But with me, he always felt open to share the truth. So these are things that just bring us to think about, why is that we are lying? Why do you do you think, Francisco?
Yeah, actually, there are two. Let me bring two aspects, because one is the social or cultural aspect, and the other one is the spiritual aspect or context of lying. For example, you just mentioned how you raise your child, that he will tell you everything and will not lie, and then toward your husband, it's gonna be a different story. Same thing happened to me. I never scold my children physically, but I mean, after they grown up, they told me, you gave those sermons that they were so lengthy that I rather have you beat me rather than having to listen to it. So it's a matter of how you have been raised, that gives an opportunity for the child to learn to lie. Now, there within those two aspects, if we go to the social aspect, uh, when a child lies, uh, and the lying becomes something funny, something that, I have known people that claim that their children, they're lying all the time, but it was so funny because of this or because of that, or he's a rascal. And if you keep reinforcing that attitude of lying is good, lying makes people laugh, or they find it funny, or I get away with it, and I'm exceptional because of that, that becomes something that turns the person into dishonesty, deceitful, and many of us have known someone who have been raised in that way, and they become totally unreliable people, and that's the social aspect of it. Then you have the other social aspect, that if you are too stern with that individual, they're going to be lying just to save their butts from a spanking, or the scolding, or my sermons. But and then you have the spiritual context, where if you lie, it's a sin, and because it's a sin, you ought to be punished, no matter what. Even if it was with good intention, it's still a lie. Well, I have a story for that, and let me share that with you. Um, my wife, uh, when we first married, very very early in the marriage, we discovered that she had a brain tumor in the pituitary gland, and she had to take some medication, very strong medication, to reduce the tumor size. And one of the side effects was that she could not breastfeed our child, and she we raised our children, and after many many years, not long ago, my wife confessed that when she had my first son, she stopped taking the medication and she breastfed him. To me, that was a lie. But how am I going to count her, put her accountable, or how am I going to judge that act of love, which I understood at that point that she rather risk her eyesight, because one of the side effects of increasing the size of the pituitary gland is that it was going to grow and affect the the visual nerve, and she might end up being blind. And she risked it out of love because she wanted to breastfeed our child. And uh, and rather than taking the attitude, the social or spiritual attitude, you lied to me for so many years and you keep it to yourself, how could you? I took another stance. I realized what she was doing, what she did, and the purpose. And I realized that she did it with good intent. Because here is the thing, the intent, it's what will drive you to commit sin, if we go to the spiritual religious aspect, or to, in the social aspect, to become a liar, a deceitful, someone that you cannot trust or rely on because you lied. So it's just like Anna Cecilia, Ingrid said in the very beginning, you have to see it from the actual uh, fact of the intention behind the line. What was the intent? Was it to protect yourself, to protect the child, to be able to do what she did? Because if she would have told me, I would say, heck no, you're not going to breastfeed that child because he's going to lose his mother, or you're going to end up blind and you will not be able to raise the child as you could have if you were having your full eyesight. So neither that I wanted to go into that aspect of how much you risk. Can you imagine if no, 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 she did it with the good intentions. And here I come with the other aspect of the spirituality side. If you lied because you have bad intentions, uh, then you end up with a karmic debt. And karma is another subject that we're going to bring forward in the very, very near future. But I don't want to extend this because karma on itself is a very broad subject. But if you lie with bad intentions, then you create on yourself a karmic debt. But if you do it in a benevolent way, you don't build karmic debt. And that's a subject that we can address later on. But go ahead, Ana Cecilia, and bring that subject to the next level before I do
Great.
my closing statement.
Thank you, Francisco. You know, you're touching at a point that's the part that I wanted to share, which is my own experience, because it's not something like we just said. Sometimes it's we lie because we're afraid of the consequences. But what if the truth is so harsh that it really is threatening your own life? Or like in this case, threatening the baby's life, or at least that's what your wife might have thought. But sometimes it's really to avoid being harmed ourselves. We don't want to harm because probably we're not ready for the truth. And I know that emotionally lying often reflects an inner conflict. That's what everybody says, and you can look out for information, and that's what you're going to find. But it's not really that. Sometimes it could be that you have not accepted your reality yet, or that you don't understand the true feelings. That there's you feel ashamed. There could be many things. But in my case, if I accepted that truth that was given to me when I was 15 years old, which was, forget about getting married, forget about having a sexual life, an intimate life, or forget about having a baby, because we don't know if really you're going to make it, because your life is so threatened right now because of your heart condition that you are really risking to lose your life, and you're not going to make it. That was what they said. My condition was not compatible with life. So sometimes we like to maintain an identity that no longer fits. So what they were saying is a death sentence. You're not gonna grow up. You're not gonna get married. You're not gonna have a family. You're not gonna have a professional college degree. You're not. And if I believe that truth, which for the doctors was the truth, that would have killed my soul, my inner self, my spirit more than my soul. That would have really threatened to everything that I had in my mind. I had already visualized my dreams, my since I was a little girl, I knew I was very sick and my heart was very weak. But I already knew that truth back there in my head. And sometimes you need to put a shield of protection to keep living. And that's exactly what I did. One of the chapters in my book is I lied. Because after the doctors told me that when I was 15 years old, and they said, please do not even risk it, do not, no, everything was no. I could very clearly imagine my mom taking me to a convent to be a nun, so I could be protected, because the truth was so harsh and so difficult that she wouldn't even have risked her daughter. But for me, I was old enough to make my own decisions. So for me, I had to lie. So when she asked, what did the doctors tell you? Because this was a private conversation, because for them, I was old enough to take it. And I had to lie. I said, no, no, mom. They said I could go on with my life and my heart will stop me, but it will be slowly. I mean, it would be, time will tell. I needed to believe that, which was it really a lie? Or was it the truth I needed for my heart and my spirit to keep going? So we need to understand that sometimes spiritually we could feel divided. We forget who we are, and that's what we lie. Or we really know who we are, and the truth out there is not really, that's what the world is seeing. And I'm just talking about, like, what's the intention of my lie? My intention was to keep myself alive and to keep everybody around me believing that I was going to be alive. That's why this topic is so conflicted, because yes, I lied. I lied to my mom, saying, and I remember many years later, I talked to her and I said I needed to lie, not because I wanted her to believe me, but because I needed to believe that I was going to be able to survive. Now I'm 60, more than 60 years old, and this happened, well, 45 years ago or more. And I needed that lie just to sustain my spirit alive. So sometimes we do lie because we believe that in that moment, that what we're saying, it's our inner truth. For me, my truth was, wait a minute, that's too much of a harsh thing that you're saying, and I can't accept it. Because if I accept that truth, that will weaken me so much that I won't even keep visualizing. And what I've seen in life, and this is from my own experience, is that in spite of whatever you're seeing, if you visualize a truth, you have a vision, and you really believe it, and that's faith, then you can create it. So we need to see where things come from. That's why I was saying in my last participation, why is this person really lying to me? Is it because they don't want my reaction? Or is it because they're protecting themselves of a truth that is too difficult to cope with? So this is where I invite all of us to be a little bit more merciful and understanding, instead of being so judgmental and just putting out there, like Francisco say, oh, you lied to me and that's the only thing I care. Well, if that's the only thing we're going to concentrate in, we won't see that this mother breastfeeded her child and that child is alive. We won't understand then that lie was needed for my spirit to keep going, to survive, and to believe that I was going to have a life. And I got pregnant. I got married. I got pregnant. I got a college degree. I'm a professional. I'm still active. And all of those things might have faded and died if I would have believed that, which was a medical truth. And we need to be a little bit more understanding that not everything we do is coming from a negative intention. Sometimes we lie, like I was saying, as a survival mode. And in my case, it was real. The threat was so big that accepting it was really a life threat, I mean, a death sentence and life threatening. So lying, we're not saying with this that lying is okay. No, I'm not accepting it as okay. It's fine if you lie. No, we've always said it. Truth is always going to be the best thing that we can do, because it's liberating. It's we don't even need to have such a good memory. When you say the truth, you don't even need to remember what you lied about. But sometimes it's about survival. So let's be fair to ourselves first and then to others, that sometimes it's these lies, even though we're not saying that it is the best thing to do, But sometimes just understanding, getting this human part of understanding where it comes from, makes us sometimes even be alive.
You know what I keep hearing from you, a lot from you both, is, and it's so clear how we are so affected by social pressure in so many cases, when, especially in the cases like you're talking, like with Bruni, with your wife, Francisco, with you, Anna, not telling the truth to your mom. Because sometimes what happens is that even if the world think that we're not capable of something, we feel we are. And when I
Right.
feel that I have what it takes to do something, but nobody believes it, and I don't want to fight, and I don't want to go like in what others will consider go against the current, or have to justify in front of everybody or explain to others, it takes a lot of energy sometimes to, geez, to try to convince a bunch of people that you are able. So you prefer to sometimes just to stay quiet, don't say anything, or just use a white lie, what we will call white lies, and it's just because you know you have it, because you know you can do it. So is that's why is like Anna says, like Francisco said, it is important to be open, to be compassionate, and to try to understand what was the intention. I love the word intention, the intent. And again, like Anna and Francisco saying, I'm not justifying lying, because at the end, if we think about it, when we lie, we know, everybody knows when we have told a lie, and that divides, that at the end it fracture us, because it is going to little by little make us feel in the heart that we are not being honest, that we're not being clean, is the sense that sooner or later, like Anna at the end reveals, she years later talked to her mom, and Bruni years later talked to Francisco, like how inside us is the need to tell the truth. And the other big problem about lying is that once we have said one lie, it's very hard to keep it going. And sometimes you need one lie to cover the other one, and one lie to cover the other one, and it start creating a huge tension,
Right.
until it even can create sickness, because we're holding a pile of lies, until one day, because of a conversation, because whatever we said or something common reveal a part of the truth, and then we fall bad, and now it's like we lie. And so it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of from us, it really divides us, it really breaks the heart when we keep lying. And this is the other thing, at the end of the day we are also deceiving ourselves, because when somebody is telling me, this is hurting you, are you okay? And yes, I'm fine, I'm fine. But in reality we are not. So we are bringing that energy of discomfort, that energy of disconnection, that energy of anger that start building within ourselves. So the more that we try to answer, like Francisco talked at the beginning about love, and start discovering ourselves more within, and going to the place of what is that I am truly lying, is looking for inner truth. You know, telling the truth is not really just a moral obligation, but a process of returning to the inner truth, with presence, with compassion, with self-love, with self-observation. So it's like at the end of the day, and we keep talking about this all the time, is go back within. You know, the truth, even when it's painful, it frees energy, and restores inner coherence. I remember when I was a little child, and one of the big lies I said, one time I stole something and I made a whole plan to steal it, and I was never caught. But this all happened in my school, and at the end, I was in a Catholic school, and at the end, a group of nuns came, and they were so nice to me after I had told this. To me, it was a big lie because I have stolen something, but they were so nice, so friendly. It was, for me, it was so hard to keep that lie because I just felt that I have wronged them. That at the end, I felt it. I felt it. I was, and I have to say that was the in my life the time when I started to feel that moral compass knocking the door and telling me it felt wrong. I remember my stomach hurting, and when I was able to say, I'm sorry I did this, it was an energy that freed me. So I just think that, and I have to repeat it over and over, and I think we always do, is at the end of the day is go back within. Look at yourself within. You are the one freeing yourself. Free your heart. Free yourself from the grip of having to hold a lie and keep holding lies, and not being able to look at other person directly in the eye because you have not been honest. So it's the place of go back to that integrity, that coherence, that alignment with your own inner truth. So with this, I leave you, Francisco,
You leave me with my final words.
with your final word.
These are my final words. We all here have talked about lying, and we all here have said, and in my case, I add myself to the question that I do not approve, neither I condemn the lying process, because we need to look at the circumstances. We need to learn or understand that this has been a learning conduct from the very beginning. Because when you were a child, you ask mommy or daddy, where do we come from? And here's the first lie. Because they do not have the ability to understand the whole truth of where do babies come from. Then we have, through the learning process, the tooth fairy. And
Mm,
we're told about the tooth fairy, and later on in life, we understand that it was not the truth. And there's so many other aspects of not being able to hear the truth, to later find out that our parents lied to us.
and
So
Santa Claus.
oh,
I
yeah,
never knew.
I didn't want to add that one, but go ahead. We already said it.
Yeah.
Anyway, the idea is that we need to understand that we have our own limitations, and
Yes.
they are all circumstantials. But like you, Ingrid said, at the end, we know when we lied. And we know when we did something benevolent to ease someone's pain, someone's suffering, someone's environment. But we gotta be careful because we don't want to be someone who support a wrongdoing by keep lying and lying and lying and lying. Is the intention what counts? That's our moral compass. Okay, if the intention is to deceive, to steal, to do harm, well, now you're getting into another aspect of either from spiritual or social. You're gonna have some negative effects. But if you do good, that's another story. Because we all also need to follow what universally speaking is known as the golden rule, which I say with a twist of my own from what I've learned from the group of ascended masters that I channeled from time to time. And is the golden rule where you said, don't do harm to no one or harm no one. Because every harm you do to others, you're doing it to yourself.
Mm.
And at the very end, this is what we're doing. If we understand the fact that we are one, something that we have heard so many times in the spiritual context, and people say, "Oh, that those are beautiful words. I love the way it sounds," and whatever. If you understand the true, deeper meaning, whatever harm you do to others, you're doing it to yourself.
Right.
And that's the moral compass that you need to have within yourself. As I said before, and Ingrid and Ana Cecilia said it too, I do not approve or condemn. You have to be the one who judge yourself as to if you're lying as a malevolent practice or you're being benevolent in that aspect. And do understand that sometimes we say that we lie, but we are not necessarily lying. We are kind of shifting the truth in a way that others can understand better. And that's something that we have learned from religion itself, because most of it is metaphorically, and many of us take it literally. And we end up saying, no, that was a lie. No, no, no. It's just that you took it out of context. It's a metaphor. And that you need to understand that because we're speaking from the one who says a lie, but how about the one who listens? The one who listen also need to understand that not everybody understand at the same level, and you cannot approach everyone at the same pace. For example, you cannot tell your child, okay, let me show you where the kids come from. No, you're gonna scar them to life. So you got to be careful with that. And I say it as a joke, but it's true. Same thing with you bringing some truth to somebody else. You have to bring it at a level that that person can understand. And again, it is you through your conscious. You know when you lie, and you know when you just kind of shift it in a way to benefit others, to help others understand or be at peace with what, just like I did with my titi. And like my wife did to me when she lied to me, but she didn't, you see? So we got to be careful with that word. That's the reason why I was so uh, reluctant to bring this subject, because I didn't know, no, I did not know how to bring it forward. But thanks to my both my friends, I was able to understand the many other aspects and bring the spirituality aspect, which is the one that will be my forte, to bring it to this conversational piece. And with that, I leave you with Ana Cecilia to finish up the
Thank
subject.
you, Francisco. And you just mentioned something that's precisely going to be my also my closing, which is, are we always ready for the truth?
Mm.
Sometimes we're not. And I was lied when I was a little girl for many years because I constantly asked, Mom, Dad, why do I have to go to the hospital and not my siblings?
Mm.
What did I do wrong? So here's a tip I'm going to tell parents. When a child asks, he needs to have an answer.
Mm.
But it is you as a parent that is going to feel if he's ready or not. Or maybe you are yourself not ready to say the whole truth because it hurts. And when every time I ask, why do I have to come so constantly to the doctor? And I was in the hospital sometimes for weeks because I was really sick. And when I ask why, they said, no, no, it's just you have a little fever. And then I ask, is there something wrong with me? And did I do something wrong? I thought I was being reprimanded. I thought I was being punished. So it was until I was 7 or 8 that finally they took me to a cafe and they say, we need to tell you the truth. And they didn't say it like that. We need to tell you the truth, but we need to tell you something, which was the truth. You have a heart condition, you have a situation in your heart that's why you constantly have to come to the hospital. So we're taking care of you. So in that moment, instead of me saying, oh, this bunch of liars, that, remember we said that the truth would set you free. How many times until you know the truth, he said, you come to oh, now I understand. Now I understand why I came. And it was liberating for me because I was ready to cope with the truth. Sometimes we're not ready, and that's the reason we sometimes lie to ourselves, first of all, and then to others. Because sometimes you're not ready to hear your own truth or to say it. So healing begins with when truth feels safe. When my parents thought I was ready, I was definitely ready. And I would give you this tip. If you're going to say a truth when it's so difficult to hear it, say it with love, but try not to lie. Mostly when a child is asking for the truth, and even if it's hurtful, what I've learned is it's better to give him an answer, but say it with love. Say it, cover it with love, with enough love that you don't feel you're lying. Because yes, when you have to lie and then another lie and then another lie, you end up with such a big lie that you don't only need to have a very good memory to see what you lied about, but it makes it so like Ingrid was saying, it separates you from your own soul, from your own spirit. It's a separation, and nobody feels better than when truth is said. Why? Because it's liberating. And sometimes, like Francisco and his children say, sometimes we just rather to have the punishment that just keep hearing what he was saying. Or somebody, when they're been lying for so long, punish me. I just need this to be over, because it liberates you. So I would ask, and this would be my final word. So safety comes when sometimes we need to have some compassion for self and for others. So stop judging. Be self-acceptance of who we are and why did we needed to lie. But try to end it so you can feel free. And be, like Ingrid said it very wisely, be conscious of what you really, the truth that is within you. And when our heart feels safe, then truth emerges very naturally. And yes, believe me, sometimes what you're going to do is like, wow, I now understand why this and this was happening. And when you feel it with love, that lie was said out of fear, and you were able to understand it with love, it not only will make you free, but the one that lied to you will also free them. So my closing reflection will be this. We lie not because we're bad, but because we are afraid of the truth, afraid of the punishment, afraid of that we could die. Like, there's fear behind this. And the moment fear dissolves, then truth no longer needs to hide. But getting to that point of the truth to be that there's no longer fear is not an easy task. So be compassionate, be understanding, and try to understand that it's only until you are able to say the whole truth is that you are really going to feel free. Sometimes it's not convenient to say it. Well, just understand that anything we do, like we've always mentioned through this presentation, anything we do or not do has its consequences. We have to deal with the consequences. And sometimes it's, yes, being told that we are liars. But even if my mom would have told me that, I wouldn't have cared. I needed it. She didn't say that. But the real thing is that, like Ingrid said, everything at the end is going to be known. Everything will be open. So as sooner that we can cope with the truth, even if sometimes it's hurtful, but dealing with the consequences of the truth, it's going to be freeing, liberating you and free. It's better than just trying to carry a lie for so long. So I would suggest for you to love yourself enough to know that you are not separated from God, from the truth. And if you needed to lie at some point, it was to protect, but try to free yourself from any lies as soon as possible if it's convenient. And if it's not, then be merciful or be graceful enough with yourself to know that in that moment that was the best thing to do, but not out of doing from malignity, but from protection or from loving one another. And sometimes that's something we need. We do not uh, justify it, but we need to be understanding that we are all going through a process, and sometimes we're not ready for the truth. So with this, I leave you all, and I hope this has helped each and every one of us to reflect upon this beautiful topic. Why do we lie, and what's really behind it?
Wow, definitely telling the truth also requires a lot of courage.
Courage.
Just like we've been saying, it requires courage. And at the end of the day, like we all say, to go to a closing when we feel safe inside, the truth is not longer a threat. So it's
Correct.
be that loving, compassionate, present being, and then always go back within. And with this, thank you for being here. Thank you for your questions. Some difficult ones that bring us to, oh my God. But we're here to answer your questions the best we can, the best of our ability. And Francisco, I leave you with the goodbyes because you're very good at it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Here's the time that I ask for all of you, our audience, to ask your questions. Share this and all other episodes with everyone you know that might benefit from it. That's our purpose. Don't keep us as a private source of information because that will take us nowhere. Remember, we're one. And as you help others, you're helping yourself.
Right.
Remember, we are here we speak in English and we have our episodes in Spanish. Subscribe to our channels. And remember, we are in YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And with this, I leave you all with all my heart and leave you until our next episode, which I hope to see you then. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
all.